Welcome to Demand Gen Confidential, the marketing podcast where we'll be talking with some of the most progressive marketers out there, diving deep into marketing tactics to help you become a better marketer. Let's jump into today's episode. Good. I'm here today with Tim Fitzpatrick. He's fractional CMO, marketing consultant, expert marketing strategist, helping companies connect strategy to tactics. And we'll dive into how demand gen marketers are going to be able to connect their tactics to overall marketing strategy. Tim, is there anything else you would like the audience to know about you before we jump in?
You kind of touched on it, Logan. I mean, I'm a marketing coach, consultant, advisor, and like you said, I help people build their overall marketing engine so that they've got everything in alignment so that they can get out of the marketing maze, which I find most people in, and they can just stop guessing and actually start growing. So we'll dig into all that as we talk about it. But yeah, I live at that strategic level of marketing.
Yeah, it's like I read the book Random Acts of Marketing, and it's such an apt title of just not doing disconnected activity churning, which I think us marketers find ourselves in. And I'm not sure why we feel the need to just produce more activity rather than trying to figure out, two things that could generate 80% of all of our business, which would be amazing. And I guess that would be my first question. Like, when you do see a team just churning out activity and they're not seeing the revenue that they want, is that an overarching strategy problem, or are there other symptoms in the team that you would coach people on?
Typically, it's a strategy problem, right?
Okay.
And I always go back to strategy because, as you pointed out, we're so biased towards activity, right? We want to just jump in and start doing. Because when we're doing, we feel like we're actually making progress. A lot of people look at strategy as, I'm wasting time. But what actually happens with strategy is we are taking time so that we can go faster later. Because when we skip strategy, we do all this stuff and we get 6 months, 9 months, 12 months down the road and we're like, this is not working. What's the problem?
Yeah.
And it's usually strategy, right? Activity does not equal impact, right? Or effectiveness.
Yes.
And so and just to be clear, because strategy can be this like nebulous thing for a lot of people. It's like, and it can mean different things to different people.
Yeah.
When I talk about marketing strategy, I am talking about 3 core things. I am talking about your target market and who your ideal clients are within that market, right? We have to know who we are selling to, right? Who we want to attract. I am talking about messaging, right? What are we going to say to actually attract and engage those people? And until we know who the hell those people are, we can't create a message, right?
Yeah.
And then what are our services and our offers to that market that meet their needs, that are something they actually want to buy and they can afford to buy, right? All of those things, when I think of those 3 things, that's what I think of strategy. And to me, that is the fuel for the engine. So what most people are doing when they're just jumping in and churning out activity is they've picked parts and they've started to assemble the engine, but when there's no strategy, there's no fuel.
Yeah.
So the engine's just sitting there and they're like, this isn't working. Well, yeah, because you got no fuel.
Yeah. So I like the 3 parts, and I'm curious on the picking the customers. Everybody talks about picking customers, like pick your ideal
Yes, they do.
profile. Like, it's almost like I don't know, if you're not saying that, you're not in the know within marketing. But I guess I'm gonna pause there. Like, what is your advice of hitting that? And like, because I think a lot of times people are like, oh, we're gonna go down to food manufacturing, like the subset of manufacturing, or fast casual restaurants, and we're gonna target them. Like, how do you think about that ICP piece, or choosing your right person that you're going to talk to?
Yeah. And by the way, Logan, most people talk about that,
Yeah.
even marketers, right?
Oh,
Because they
yeah.
feel like they should, but a lot of marketers still don't do it,
Yeah.
right? And so to me, when I sit down and work with a new client or I'm talking to a prospective client, when we start to hone in on who your ideal clients are, in most cases, there is no reason to reinvent the wheel. The simplest place to go is your existing client base. Who are
Yeah.
you already working with? Like, you don't need to just start from scratch. So when I look at identifying your ideal clients, I call them the three power questions. Who do you love working with? Because why work with clients that you don't enjoy? Like, what's the point,
Yeah.
right? It's not good for you. It's not good for the rest of your team, and it's not good for the clients. So who do you love working with? Who are your most profitable clients? That does not mean your clients that are driving the highest top line revenue. That means your highest profit clients. Oftentimes, clients that drive top line revenue aren't necessarily generating the most profit
Yeah. That,
because they take a lot of time, right? They might be
that
demanding, right?
exactly. Like you bring on an enterprise client and then they require a bunch of product development in order,
Yeah.
or just it takes forever to integrate them or get them
Yeah.
onboarded. Yeah. I mean, that's a
So
really good call out, the profitable.
revenue does not equal ideal client. I want to know about profit. Okay. Then the third power question is who are you getting great results and outcomes for?
Yeah.
Okay. Because if we're working with clients that we're getting great results for, what happens? Retention naturally increases, right? Lifetime value of the client increases when we can increase retention. And typically they want to talk to other people about you, right? They want to refer you because you're doing such a great job. So if we ask those three questions of our existing client base, we end up with a group of current clients that check all three of those boxes. It is that group. Not everybody in that group is going to be necessarily an ideal client, right? But it's that group that we start to investigate and dig deeper on who are they, right? Like, what do these clients look like
Yeah.
from a demographic perspective and also a psychographic perspective? When we talk about psychographics, we're trying to get in their head. Like, what are they thinking?
Mm-hmm.
What are the common problems they have? What do they want as it relates to what you do? What are the results and outcomes that they're looking for? What are their aspirations? How do they want to be seen or viewed? All of those things help us get in their head. That's what we want to really understand about that group of current clients that check all three of those boxes. And when we can start to look at the demographics and the psychographics, typically some things come to the surface and you're like, oh my gosh, like we've done this before. And they're like, oh my gosh, half of our clients are in healthcare.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Right. Sometimes it's even more than that.
Yeah. That,
That then starts to drive the decisions you make on who your ideal clients are going to be.
and it's probably not just that they're in healthcare. It's that they're
Yeah.
these types of healthcare companies that are struggling
Correct.
to do this. Like they might have huge nurse
That's right.
turnover. And it's
Yeah.
because they have certain types of patients coming in because they're in certain types of areas within the country or something
Yeah.
to that effect.
Oh,
Like,
exactly. Right. They have a specific problem.
yeah.
They may be in a specific industry. You can solve that problem and help them get the outcome that they want. Right. But what most people are doing is they're like, what? I work with small businesses, like super broad. Yeah, and you cannot hit a target that you can't see. The target is so big, you can't see it. You can't clearly identify where you need to go to get in front of those people and market to them. It just doesn't work. And the message is so flat because you're trying to attract everyone, which means you resonate with nobody. But when let's just go down the path we've already gone down, right? Healthcare companies that have this specific problem, well, hey, that's my ICP. Now what I can start to do is go, okay, where are these people? Where are these companies? This is a tool I call an ideal client GPS, right? It is a
Okay.
list of all the places you can go to get exactly in front of the people you want to attract. And when you know, for example, that they're in healthcare or a specific type of healthcare, then you can go, okay, to create my ideal client GPS, like what associations do they belong to? What organizations do they belong to? What events do they go to? What YouTube channels do they watch?
Yeah.
What podcasts do they listen to? What websites do they visit? Email lists, blogs they go to, social media groups, right? You can create that list. And now that you've got that list, that's where you can go to get in front of those specific healthcare clients that you want to work with. Rather than casting your line out in the middle of the ocean, hoping you catch something, you're like, I'm catching trout. I'm going to the local trout farm. I stick my line out. I know there's trout in there. If I catch something, it's going to be a trout, right? Now, once you have that list of your ideal client GPS, doesn't mean you're going to go to all those places.
Yeah.
I mean, when we do this for clients, it's a 20, 30 page Google Doc.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff on there, right? But those are all the places you can go. Now you can choose the places based on where you are, your resources, your budget, your time, right? Your expertise. What are we going to focus on off this list? But at least you know everything on that list is going to get you in front of the right people.
Yeah. And that's a good call out. Like, you're going to have like the whole landscape, but you're likely going to, well, I don't know what you would advise, but I would imagine you want to hit like one or two to start, see it, and then start cycling through, and probably as fast as you can, just so that you're not spending too much time. But I don't know, maybe that's not even the right logic that you would advise.
Most of the time, and again, this depends on the resources you have, right? How many people are on your marketing team? What's your budget, right? Because the larger team, the more expertise you have, the larger your budget, the more you can take on off that list.
Yeah.
The smaller, well, the less. Most of the clients that we work with, I recommend they start with 2 to 3 off that list. And just focus on that, right?
Yep.
Don't bite off more than you can chew. If you bite off more than you can chew, you just don't do anything well. And then you get it, you're not motivated because you're like, I don't want to do this. So don't bite off more than you can chew, focus, and spend time in those areas, right? So a lot of times it might be they're going to join a local association for where their ideal clients are.
Yeah.
And, in that case, look, the reality is most people have unrealistic expectations of how quickly marketing is going to work. So most people try things for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. 90 days for most people is a really long time. I would tell you for most things, 90 days is not enough time.
Yeah.
It's enough time. It's enough time to start seeing some traction and starting to get an idea of, hey, is this headed in the right direction? But it's not enough time, in my opinion, to say yes or no in most cases.
Yeah, and that's a really good call out because like the associations piece. So I used to do outside sales, and I sold to dentists, and they called them study clubs. And so one of the tactics was to get in with one of the more prominent, dental surgeons in the area that ran a study club, but they might do them once a month. And there's like a way that you have to operate within those. And so, yes, that's like on a sales level, but marketers are going to be enabling all these sales reps to do that kind of stuff. And it takes a while to kind of get yourself embedded in there to where it's not just, you're just going in and pitching people, because they're not going to invite you back other than unless they want you to buy them dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're really not going to listen to you if all you're there for is to buy them dinner.
You can't go to that association once and then be like, well,
exactly.
I didn't get any referrals. Yeah, you didn't get any referrals because they didn't know you. They're not going to know you after one meeting. You need to show up over and over and over again, right? You need to figure out how you can get more involved in the association. How can you speak in front of association members? That all takes time, right? But your example, Logan, of dentists is a really good example that I think we should pull some stuff out of,
Yeah.
because to me, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but dentists are a vertical that when I think of, unless you already have prior experience in the dental industry, it is a very, very difficult niche to break into because they are super hard to get in front of. They are insulated. You can't, they don't market a lot. They're not a lot of places. They are hard to get in front of. And so one of the things you want to look at when you're looking at your ideal clients is a really important factor that they need to have is how easily can you get in front of them? Because
Yeah.
if you can't get in front of them with your marketing, it is going to feel like you are banging your head against a wall, right? I talked to a managed service provider a few months ago that had focused on a healthcare niche, a specific doctor type. He'd been doing it for 2 years, nothing. It wasn't working. And it wasn't working because you can't get in front of them. There's so many freaking gatekeepers. The doctors aren't available. You cannot get in front of them. That's not a good market to go after for an ICP.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is, I sold medical and dental, and that
Okay,
was in
cool.
my outside sales days. And a lot of those
Yeah.
orgs, and I don't know if it's changed, but like, we can go with dentists. They were at one trade show a year. The company I worked for was one of the top 3 dental implant companies. Actually, maybe they were number 4, but they were definitely in the top 5 of like all the reputable ones and national. And they only went to like one major trade show a year. And that was the one all the dentists and oral surgeons went to. And then outside of that, like, the interesting thing from a marketing perspective, it would have all been, I mean, obviously they're on digital and stuff like that. Maybe they're on social. You can like target them there, but they were localized and in person at that time. And I would imagine it's the same because there's a lot of these industries where if they're always out in person, it's different than like if you're in tech, like I'm in tech now and everything's online, perpetually online.
Yeah.
And so tech companies, when they go to sell to these other industries, struggle because the amount that is in person is wild. And so then you have to get territory reps. And so their territory reps operated like franchise owners. And it was the territory reps' job to both be sales and marketing. And so what you had to do was you had to get in touch with your Henry Schein reps because they would all have, they would have maybe like 20 dentists, but they saw them almost every day. And so you wanted them to help you get into the dental office. And then you would want to partner with them for a dinner. Then you would want to figure out which surgeon is placing a lot of stuff and work with them for a dinner. And then you would work with your marketing counterparts to get speakers to those. And so like I would host an event and the marketing budget would send me a speaker. They also did like fly-in programs where you would get a surgeon to then bring 5 dentists with you back to headquarters and they'd learn how to do the product, like that kind of stuff. Like it's an entirely like different thing, but a lot of it was operating almost like a franchise model was how it was in there. But so as far as difficult, you would want, like if you're going into that market, a lot of times medical companies or those types of companies go in and get independent reps that know all of the people in their territory. So they like might hit Northern California. That Northern California independent rep knows all of, like 50
They've already got the contacts.
and they can get you started in there. And then they would, so they would start independent and then they would bring stuff in-house later. And the independent reps knew this. They knew their line for that, holding that line was like maybe 5 years.
That's a perfect example though, where it is, unless you have prior experience in that industry, it is very difficult to break in. It takes a lot of time, and it takes time
Yeah.
anyways. But an industry like that, I think it takes even more time. And so, just keeping that in the back of your mind as you're looking at who your ideal clients are is really, really important.
Yeah. And I think, like, to that point, it's very, very hard. And so the GPS, I think, is such a great roadmap, because if you're going to choose, you're going to say like, oh, this subset of our customers came to us, and, we've got some, but we need more. We need
So,
more, but you don't necessarily know how to get in front of them, or you underestimate how difficult it is going to be able to get in front of them at scale. Is
that's right.
like, I've been in multiple companies where that's become the case, and I don't necessarily understand it. Like, it's a little wild how it's almost cavalier. You could be almost cavalier in how you're going to enter a market and do that.
Yeah.
And to your point, 30 days is not enough time to go
Yeah.
into. If these are your great clients, you're going to have to spend a little more time doing that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so on that navigational GPS, and so we've hit, you've dialed in your ICP, and you've maybe started to look at some of your messaging, and is that the right ICP? Like, when do you know if what you did, the work that you did on ICP ends up becoming the right ICP? Like, how do you start to
Yeah.
see traction and say like, okay, I think we've got it this time?
Yeah. It's there's no one way, right? This is part of, to me, marketing is a constant process of testing, measuring, and learning,
Yeah.
right? You can't figure out what works without trying stuff that doesn't. So you're going to do a bunch of stuff that doesn't work, and that's okay. It's part of the process. So once you've kind of nailed down that ICP, it's about getting out there and having those conversations. But if you've gone through the process of identifying your ICP, like we just talked about,
Mm-hmm.
there is a very high likelihood that you've done a pretty darn good job on that, certainly much better than most. Now it's about getting out there and just continue having those conversations with people, right? When you're having conversations with prospects and you're using your messaging, what happens, right? Like, are they leaning into it? Or, is it clicking with them, or is it not? On the demand gen side, right? You can test, right?
Yeah.
Test different subject lines, right? Test different things in ads, headlines, copy, and see what's working and what's not. That's going to help you identify where you've really nailed it and where you need to make adjustments.
Yeah, I like that when you're out talking with prospects or clients piece. Sometimes I'll like, if I know somebody works in what the company I'm working for is, if I know somebody close, like a friend or family that works in the ICP that the company I'm at or working with says is the ICP, I always just ask them. Like, and generally, like, just, ask like, oh, is this a problem for you? And if the answer comes back, and I've had the answer come back, like, why would I need that? Then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, we should
That's a
probably
problem.
really get back to this.
Yeah.
And I think you have to ask it as a question rather than pitching them, because I've sometimes also had marketers on the other end. They don't ask it in a question. They just pitch it and say like, this is what we do and why it's beneficial.
Yeah.
And it's like, that you are in that person's target market, but you're like, I don't know if that resonates with me so much. I think that's a good test at when you're out talking with people.
Yeah. Or social posts,
Yeah.
right? Using some of that language in social posts. Are you getting engagement? Are you not? Right? But again, there's an art and a science to this, but if you've done the strategy work well, it's never going to be perfect. You're still going to have to test things, but oftentimes when you're creating messaging, it's not coming from you. It's coming from the conversations that you've had and the research that you've done on your ICP.
Yeah.
One of the examples I use all the time is we worked with this was quite a while ago, but a residential siding contractor.
Okay.
And when we initially started doing work, we looked at their reviews. They had a ton of reviews. So we just started reading through their reviews. And there was a woman in there who was like, the thing I loved about these guys is they treated my house like it was their own.
Mm-hmm.
Most contractors, you go to their website and it's like, oh, we're the number one whatever contractor in Denver or Sacramento, high quality. Like, who cares? And how do you even prove that? Like, we expect you to offer high quality. What message can you use that is going to help differentiate you? For them, it was that. Because what comes up in our mind, oh, they're going to treat my house like it's their own. Well, they're going to do a great job. They're not going to track crap all over the place. When they put a roof on, they're going to clean up the roofing nails. So I don't have roofing nails all over my landscape that my kid might step on for the next 10 years, right?
Yeah.
It's that kind of stuff. Our messaging comes from their mouth, not ours, right? In a lot of the prospects that I talk to, they're, hey, tell me about your current marketing situation. What's happening? And a lot of what comes up is, I'm throwing stuff up against a wall. I have no idea what to do next, right? So it's that type of language that we make sure that we leverage in our messaging. Hey, do you feel like you're throwing stuff up against a wall, hoping something sticks? If that's come out of your mouth and you read it from somebody, you're like, oh my God, they get me. Like what we want to do is enter the conversation that they're already having in their head.
Yeah. I feel like you're talking to me. No, but it is good though. Like what's interesting, we'll talk about this next, like the strategy to tactics piece, but you talk about the company that has all the reviews. And what's awesome now is you can compile all of that and at least get a little AI ChatGPT assistance and help you come up with some of those things that are in there, which is, I think, super interesting now. If you're in the situation where you have a lot of reviews or you have a lot of customers, courtings or things like that, that you can now start to get that, maybe call it voice of customer, but just the language they're using that you can then use yourself.
If it's okay, let's pull this out because that's a really important
let's do it.
point. Because we all have data, right? So you've got reviews. Like I said, scrape your reviews, put them into ChatGPT and ask it to give you a summary of the main pain points, problems, benefits, all that stuff. It can analyze that data. Call transcripts, like you said.
Yeah.
Sales discovery calls or initial prospect calls, proposal calls. Take those transcripts and feed those into AI and have it spit out its findings, right? Like it can run through that data so much faster than we can and pull out those clips.
Yeah.
Leverage it, but you've got that data. You just need to extract it, format it, and put it into AI and ask it for an output.
Yeah. And the best part about, or one of the great parts about that use case of AI is that AI likes more information and humans like less. I mean, like this.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, we need it summarized and we can only process so much, but you can just keep feeding and feeding, AI and machine learning and let it help you get all of the good stuff out of it.
Yep. Yeah. So a lot of us don't think we have data, but we do. There is data there.
Yeah. And I love putting call transcripts and things into AI to help kind of summarize it. And then you can kind of look at their summary, like, kind of go back, see if, the right stuff was in there and all that kind of stuff.
Just compare it
to
hey, these were my thoughts coming out of this call. What's the AI summary saying, right? Is there overlap? Did I miss something?
Yeah.
It's all there. So we might as well take advantage of it.
Yeah. So we've talked about, so I mentioned getting into kind of the tactical portion of it. It's like, as you're seeing people go through this process and they've spent the time that they needed in order to do the ICP work, do some messaging validation, who ends up like in a team of it, probably at least like 5 to 10 people or more, like how do you connect that strategy work that you just did to the tactical? And like, who typically do you see own that? And like, how would you look at structuring a marketing organization? So there's like 3 big portions there that I just tossed at you
Yeah.
for
Yeah. So
questions. And we'll probably want to break each
break
of
that.
those.
Yeah. Let's break that down. So the strategic portion needs to be owned by a leader, whether that's the company owner, a part-time marketing executive that's overseeing the team, or a full-time marketing executive that's overseeing the team. But strategic work is totally different than tactical work. And their marketing is too broad for, you should not be hiring a strategic person expecting them to do tactical work.
Yeah.
That is a waste of time and it is a waste of money. Okay. Because you're paying, strategic work is expensive. You don't need to pay a strategic person to create social posts for you, and they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you have a clear understanding of your needs. You don't need, if you don't need a full-time marketing executive, you don't have to hire one. Hire a fractional. There's plenty of them out there. We do that type of work. There's plenty of other people like us that do that work. Hire them on a part-time basis. You are not going to hire somebody that's going to be great at tactics and great at strategy. That's a unicorn and they don't exist. So you have to have a strategic leader overseeing it. That's where most people drop the ball on leadership. They don't actually have a leader.
Yeah.
And so the efforts become disjointed. People aren't on the same page. You have to have somebody that's own strategy that can communicate that strategy to the rest of the team, right? Somebody on the team needs to be able to sit down with everybody and say, hey, here's where we're at. Here's our ideal client profile. Here's our messaging playbook. These are the various ways we can get in front of these people. These are the things that we want to focus on, right? What feedback do you have? Do you have any concerns? What other input do you have? Well, we want to make sure we're all aligned here. And, hey, maybe as the leader, maybe I'm missing something, right? I don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
I want to bring that to the team to say, hey, what are your thoughts? Make sure we're all on the same page. Then you can go take whatever your portion of that plan, that what needs to be implemented, and go do your work.
Yeah. And
right.
In that example, it almost to me seems like sometimes you might need 3 arms to that. And like you have that strategy piece that gets kind of the vision, the strategy, all of that. And then somebody kind of in between the execution ICP work. And how are you going to translate that into tactical tasks that people are going to do? And even that mindset, almost like you can call it project management, or it can live in operations kind of thing. Basically, the operationalizing section in that to make sure that everybody understands, like, okay, here's our messaging framework, and we're going to send this portion over here and this portion over there. And sometimes even at the strategy level, that's hard because you're it's different work, I think.
Yeah.
No,
you're right. It is. And Logan, it depends on the size of the team.
It does.
Right. If it is a team of 10 people, then yeah, you may have that intermediary manager between the chief marketing officer and the people that are implementing. But on a team of 3 or even 5,
yeah, you got to have some kind of understanding of that piece within that 3 to 5 team, I would imagine.
Yeah. Yes, you do.
Function.
But in a lot of cases, when you have a team of 3 to 5, I think the marketing executive, they're going to have the time to do that.
Yeah, and they're going to have to have that ability to say, like, here's the strategy, and this is how we're going to go to market with it, kind of a thing.
Yeah. And they can help oversee it, right? They can, hey, show me some of the campaigns that you've set up.
Yeah.
right? What are your thoughts, right? They're proofing that to make sure that it's in alignment with the strategy, right? But the larger the team, the more you're going to need that intermediary person. So I mean, it is going to depend, but you have to have that strategic level. And then you have to have somebody in, again, a lot of the times this is the marketing executive who's doing this, but making sure that, okay, we're overseeing the implementation and execution of this, right? Because putting a strategy together, creating a plan is one thing, but all those things live or die at implementation and execution.
Yeah.
And so we've got to make sure that we're staying on top of that. Is what we expect getting done, or is it not?
Yeah. And it almost goes back to the conversation we're having where you're putting together, here's your ICP GPS. I think that's, ideal client GPS. And the 3 channels or 3 places you chose, did you go deep enough in them and execute well enough?
Correct.
In order to know that that's, the right way to do it. And that can be a big part of it. Like if you're just bouncing around tactic, it might be that you didn't show up correctly. Like social's an easy one right now to think about because like each platform right now has its own way to show up. Like LinkedIn has a way to show up. YouTube has a way to show up. TikTok has a way to show up. And you can't just say, we're going to do social and go after all of them. Like you have to say like, okay, we're going to master LinkedIn.
Well, and that's where there's collaboration, right? It's not just the marketing leader saying, hey, we need to do this stuff, go do it. It's, hey, this is what we want to accomplish. You're overseeing TikTok for us. How do we need to think about this? What do we need to do within TikTok to implement this strategy and just talk it through, right? As a marketing leader, I don't pretend to have all those answers, right?
Yeah.
I know enough about social to be dangerous. I know enough about paid ads to be dangerous. I don't know the inner workings and the day-to-day execution of it, but I know the questions to ask to make sure that whatever's being done day to day is going to implement the strategy that I want to have implemented.
Yeah.
Right. And so we need to talk and have those communications. It's not just do it and do it this way. Right. Like as a marketing leader, if I say, hey, marketing's too broad, we need to have specialists. How can I like hand the specialist exactly what they need to do? I don't know the channel well enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And that's a big part of it because every channel's different right now and it's quite evolving at the moment and it's congested. So you do have to show up really well because there's tons of other people in there in the mix as well.
Yep, exactly. So to me, it all comes back to having the strategy, having the plan, and then communicating with everybody on the team to make sure that whatever gaps you have are filled and that you're all on the same page.
Yeah. And I think this is such a key piece because like marketing gets grilled, especially now in a tighter environment, and the demand gen or the pipeline function is going to struggle if you're being told to go after a certain ICP and that ICP doesn't close. Like if your close rates aren't good, then demand gen can't produce an ROI. And that means that, maybe you have some kind of mismatch. So all of this work is super important in order to then go to market with, a demand gen function and actually have it work rather than, just producing leads that nobody likes. Or
that's one of the reasons why you always want to start with your existing clients.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. If you start with your existing clients and you're already working with your ICP, you already have proof of concept. You're already working with them.
Yep.
So that part of it is done. You just need to repeat that.
Exactly.
Right?
Start
and put
with
that
your clients
plan in place.
And actually start with your clients. Narrow down, like we talked about, and get to somebody profitable and that is considered a great client. And so
you've already proved that you can do it. That's why starting with existing clients is so important. If you're just starting from scratch, right? If you're a startup, you can't do that. So
Yeah.
the process is a little bit different. But if you've been in business and you've got clients, that's where you want to start, and that's why you want to start there.
Yeah.
It's rather than you're hitting the ground running rather than starting at a crawl, right?
Yeah.
And you can leverage those existing clients too. You can get social proof, you can get
Yep.
testimonials, you can get case studies and leverage those in your demand gen activities, in your lead gen activities, in your sales conversations. So that's why we want to start there. It's the easiest place to start.
Easiest and best place. And I think
Yes.
that's great advice to kind of close us out, because it brings us full circle to where we started in trying to find your ICP. Well, Tim, I appreciate you taking the time to chat us through how we should start thinking about strategy, especially from the more tactical demand gen side, and how you can then implement that ICP and strategic lens into your tactical. Tim, is there anything else you would like to leave the audience with today?
Gosh, we kind of hammered the point home, but strategy before tactics, always. Always.
And you got to get a little runway for that. So
Yes, you do.
that's always good. Well, Tim, thank you. And then where should people connect with you?
Easiest place to connect is on our website, which is rialtomarketing.com. It's RIALTO marketing.com. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. Just look me up, Tim Fitzpatrick. There's a few of us, but not too many. So I think I'm the only one in marketing as far as I know. So
Well, good. And we'll
look me up and
link
be
all
happy to
that.
connect there.
Yeah. And we'll link all that in the show notes for everybody. So,
Cool.
well, thanks a lot,
Awesome.
Tim.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it as well. This was a lot of fun, and enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.